Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. South Africa's frequent power cuts are having a significantly negative impact on the country's mobile network operators. Although the industry backup power solutions are in place, customers are becoming more frustrated when they experience a drop in network performance during the higher levels of load shedding. Spiwe Chireka is an independent telecoms analyst joining us on the line. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Customers are becoming more and more frustrated when it comes to the drop in network performance. What does it all indicate? One would have thought that the backup solutions would be sufficient.
Yes, and thank you for having me on your show today. So what we find is that, when you look at the, telecommunications sector, it is amongst one of the highest energy users. And as you rightly know, we need to keep the networks up. We need to be transmitting whatever data is pinging off our systems or off our devices, during the course of the day or whatever it is that we're doing. And it is important to know that, yes, we've been talking about, alternative power sources or making sure that there's backup power at the base station level or even at the data center level. However, just the sheer volume of power requirements really just means that, the sector cannot run away from requiring, on-the-grid power as well. So they can only do so much with alternative or even the backup power solutions.
So with the backup solutions not working as effectively, is it an indication of the hours in between, whether it's stage 6 load shedding or stage 5? Does that play a bigger role in terms of these batteries being more reliable?
Yes, of course. So, the batteries are designed to, first of all, charge to a certain capacity within a certain amount of time, and also to be able to support the network for a certain period of time. And of course, you've got to understand that if we look at, say, in the last 10 years, for example, stage 6 has been, rearing its head in the last 2 years. So we got to also cut the industry some slack that, they will have to make the necessary adjustments, the necessary updates to the various towers, to the various battery systems to make sure that they catch up with the ever increasing periods of electricity shutdowns and the shorter times of electricity uptimes. And I gotta say, we're not the first, right, in the world, especially in our own region in Africa, to be having the issues of power. It's just that ours are becoming more and more pronounced now. And so the rest of the region has been managing with very challenging on-grid power solutions. And I believe that as a country, we will catch up soon enough.
So in the meantime, what are the foreseeable long-term challenges, especially when it comes to perhaps hindering inclusive digital transformation? Okay,
and I'm glad that you bring it up because you do know that we are already in the digital economy, right, in the middle of it. And this has been accelerated, especially by the COVID pandemic, which then forced us to really start looking at digitization and digitalization. And with that, yes, the risk of the digital divide ever increasing is actually even more pronounced now. The key thing to note is that this is not something that sits with either just the consumer alone or the telco provider alone or your fiber bundles provider alone. The entire ecosystem is affected. So what we are going to have to see, or we're going to start to see, is innovation not just at the base station level regarding alternative power sources that will allow us to be connected for longer, but even the device that we use. So right now we know that, for example, say average battery power on a smartphone is about maybe 11 hours. And of course now the likes of the Samsungs of this world and anyone else who actually specializes in mobile batteries will have to start playing a part. And we know that, okay, we've got all our little devices in the house, like, you know, our Wi-Fi enabled air fryer, right? It's going to need to be pinging data off our phone, and that also requires power. And of course, the manufacturers or those who are in that area will also need to start looking at how to really ensure that we've got efficient use of power, or that, sometimes, who knows, we can actually work without power for a certain period of time and keep us connected and keep us, going in this world of the Internet of Things and the need for us to stay connected all the time. So an entire ecosystem will have to come together to ensure that we stay connected and that our networks continue to function.
So in the meantime, then, what are some of the shorter-term solutions for households and businesses? But I suppose more households at this time of the year.
Right. So one of the things we're seeing is, like, I think we touched on it earlier, alternative power sources. Of course, the pro of that is that, it does allow you to stay connected. It is also a good stopgap, depending on the duration of the outages. The downside of that, and the unfortunate reality, is that the initial investment towards that is quite high. And so that, again, leaves a certain proportion of the population that may be without the connectivity. And so, and I can't remember the actual saying, but I believe there's a saying that goes something like, necessity drives innovation. And I am really confident that in order for us to ensure that the 80% of the population also has alternatives in the meantime, whether it may be community charging ports, maybe it may be the normalization of solar, amongst communities, amongst community hubs such as schools, shops, community centers, that just allows people to always, if they need to charge a device or if they need to communicate or connect, they can be there. I expect that we can start to see more of that.
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, Spiwe Chireka, independent telecoms analyst, forecasting and speaking to some of the pressing challenges when it comes to load shedding.